Hi, I hope you watched the last video. Welcome again. That one was about the definition of process in relation to promise. And if you haven't watched the series on promise, the links are in the description below. Feel free to go there. So last time we talked about what a process is. Process is the actions or steps that help you get from point A to B. And we looked at the example of making a car, all right? But now today I want to look at something slightly different. Many times when we have a promise we're holding on to, let's say maybe of healing, maybe of provision, maybe of promotion, sometimes it feels like you've been going around this mountain for a long time. One of the people I spoke to recently talked about how COVID has thrown everything off track for her. And the other thing that has happened in the season is a lot of people have lost jobs. And I remember at the beginning of COVID, a friend of mine lost his job, and we began to believe God for a new job. Now, what for me was tricky is because we had been believing and we took an extended period of time the year before to pray for a new job. And then he got this new position. It was exactly where he wanted to go, the kind of establishment he wanted to work for. And he reported to work, and 3 weeks later, they shut down when COVID hit. And I remember going through the whole cycle of what the heck was God thinking? Because right on the back of the celebration of the accomplishment of his word came a blow none of us saw coming. And I remember my friend asking me, is how with God? Why would he do something like this, And I remember sitting there and wondering, Allah, seriously, Father, you've actually let this happen. And in the process of just dealing with all these things, right, I had in my heart and in my spirit, continue to trust and hold on to the promise. And many times as we walk that journey with my friend, him is like, I'm just going to figure out how to put food on my table today. And that's what we began focusing on. And then things got difficult because you have to move house, you have to adjust your costs, you have to figure out, in this season, most of us are figuring out different styles of eating. I know in my house we discovered we need to eat less than we used to eat before, not because there's no food, but because we were eating not even on demand, it was on habit and hobby. So this particular friend of mine went through this complete process. And I remember just wondering many times, Lord, did I hear right? Did we take the right path? Did we follow the right route? Did we connect to your truth? That whole question. Fast forward just under 18 months and he got an amazing position. But that's not why I'm talking about that. The person he became in the process to that position is amazing to watch, And the person I became in the process, because we would share often, we pray for each other, we pray together sometimes. We found scriptures that would help us walk the journey. And I remember many times he would say to me in my down moments, but you have always said to me X, Y, Z, and he'd repeat the things I've said to him. And he would challenge me why I'm having a hard moment, right? And so that's how the whole idea of process came back. Remember in the last video, if you haven't watched it, please feel free to do. We talked about how the process is the destination. That was told to me by one of my brothers. He's called Anthony Ejidwa. And when he said that to me, I was like, But then when my friend now would mirror my words back to me, right? He would say things like, but last week you said, da 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 da. So does the situation where we are negate? Or he would say, I don't see how this works, and we'd have a complete conversation about it. And what I found is that the one thing I can always know is that when God is in the mix, it will work out. It may not work how I want it to work as Chesure, but because the word of the Lord is living and active, it will work. It will work. So the thing it got me thinking about is the story of Esther. And we'll be diving into it shortly and continuing as we go along. She found herself in a very difficult place. She was young, a young girl. She's an orphan, so her parents had died. And she's been raised by an uncle in a foreign land. Nothing speaks to broken promises like being in exile or captivity. And then they hear that the queen has misbehaved, and her uncle tells her to join this quest to be the queen. Please understand, it's a beauty contest with elements that are counter her culture. And the thing that is sitting with me right now is that she didn't know what the end would be. She hoped to become queen, but she didn't have the full picture. She didn't realize that God was positioning her to be in place so that when the plot against the Jews come, they would have a voice in a place that would be heard the first time. But the woman she needed to be able to properly ask when that situation comes had to be drawn into position by a promise. And I don't think when she went into the palace to become queen, I don't think she was unaware of the other women because she was taken into the harem. But one of the things I'm finding, and we'll continue digging into this, process needs people to walk with very often. But it doesn't need the kind of people who will tell you, oh no, here we say, oh yeah, or At work, nobody says, oh yeah, you have a lot of work. No. They say, if you got work, so you do it. Jipange. Here we say jipange, plan yourself. And that for me was a big thing. The realization that the people I carry along, the people I walk with during my process affect where I'm going. So if I'm walking with people who think this is not what you signed up on, quit, I will quit. If I have people like my friend who mirror my words back to me and say, this is what you said, this is what you believe, are you saying it's wrong? Then I become strong. So my question for you today is, who is walking with you in your process? Yeah, who's walking with you? Do they strengthen you or do they weaken you? Think about that and we'll be back. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the notifications button. The Lord bless you.